Major rare earths discovery at its Sheridan, Wyoming mine earlier this year.
Humankind has always gone into the deep trenches of the planet to discover something valuable. From coal to gemstones, our economies thrive on these dangerous pursuits. However, sometimes, during our search for gold, we stumble onto something terrifying too. Fossils, bones, and even bizarre new creatures. Each of these discoveries brings a piece of the ancient world back to life in the most unexpected ways. Before we jump into the impossible discovery by miners in the United Kingdom, which terrified the whole world, let's take a look at similar findings. Number 19. The Nampa figurine. Back in 1889, a group of workers drilling for water near Nampa, Idaho, stumbled upon something that would challenge our understanding of history. As they drilled about 295 feet down, their steam pump started spitting out bits of clay. Nothing too strange until one of the projectiles revealed something unexpected. Among the bits of clay was a small figurine, about the size of a dime, shaped like a slender, clothed woman. Was this a coincidence? Or did someone actually craft it? And if it was crafted, who made it and why? Some even wonder if this entire story was a hoax. Fast forward to 1979, and Professor Albert Wright from Oberlin College took a closer look at the figurine. He claimed that it wasn't the work of a child or a hobbyist, but rather the creation of a true artist. Despite the ravages of time, the figurine's details are still visible. It has a bulbous head, a barely noticeable mouth and eyes, broad shoulders, short arms, and long legs, though the right leg was broken off. The workers were drilling through a geological layer called the Glens Ferry Formation, a clay-rich stratum that dates back about 2 million years, right at the edge of the Pliocene-Pleistocene transition. Today, this area is home to the Hageman Fossil Beds National Monument, a United States national natural landmark that contains one of the world's richest collections of pre-Ice Age fossils. Among these, the Hageman horse fossils stand out. This ancient, zebra-like creature went extinct around 10,000 years ago. And while Nampa is about 124 miles from this fossil hotspot, the discovery of the figurine caused a stir. Some researchers even compared the Nampa figurine to ancient European carvings, like the well-known Venus Impudica figurine from France's Logerie-Basse caves. But here's the kicker. The Nampa figurine throws a wrench into our conventional timeline of human history, evolution, and civilization. Around 2 million years ago, humans weren't sophisticated enough to make figurines like that. So, today, many scholars argue that the figurine's authenticity is impossible to confirm, leaving us with more questions than answers. Was it a hoax, or was this an artifact from a lost civilization we didn't know existed? Number 18. The origins of cast iron. In 1912, Frank Kennard, a worker at the Thomas Power Plant in Oklahoma, had a strange encounter while breaking open a massive chunk of coal. The coal, too big to be used as it was, gave way with a powerful swing of a sledgehammer. But what happened next was anything but ordinary. From the heart of the coal, an iron pot tumbled out, leaving behind a perfect mold of the vessel in the surrounding coal. Jim Stull, another employee at the plant, witnessed the whole thing firsthand as the pot fell free. Intrigued by the discovery, he traced the coal back to its source, Wilburton Mines in Oklahoma. At first, the pot seemed like just a simple, run-of-the-mill metal vessel. But as experts took a closer look, they realized it was made of cast iron, an alloy of iron and carbon that didn't surface in history until much later. Cast iron was first used in China around the 5th or 6th century before the Christian era, so it shouldn't have been appearing in a chunk of coal. dated around 312 million years old. This raised a huge red flag for scientists, who were left scratching their heads. How could this artifact exist so far back in time? The origins of the mysterious pot still remain unsolved, but it undeniably challenges everything we know about the timeline of human history. Number 17. Helicoprion. The Helicoprion is one of the most mind-boggling predators that ever swam the ancient seas, thanks to a jaw that seems ripped from a sci-fi movie. Picture this: a sleek, shark-like fish, only with a buzzsaw of razor-sharp teeth embedded in its lower jaw. For ages, scientists were baffled by this bizarre fossil, a spiraled, circular structure that looked like a twisted saw blade of teeth. The fossil was so strange that experts debated endlessly over where this spiral belonged on the creature's body. Some imagined it was part of the fish's mouth, while others speculated it might even hang like a trunk. The mystery unraveled only recently, thanks to a fossil discovered deep in a Russian coal mine in the Volgograd region. This fossil finally confirmed that the spiral was actually part of the lower jaw, providing Helicoprion with a unique, almost mechanical advantage. Unlike modern sharks that shed teeth like candy wrappers, Helicoprion's teeth grew along the spiral, giving it a lifetime supply of fresh, jagged edges. When the jaws snapped shut, the spiral mechanism could actually roll forward, almost like a conveyor belt, slicing through its prey with precision. This ancient saw shark roamed oceans around 290 million years ago, long before dinosaurs dominated the Earth. With this discovery, paleontologists now have a better understanding of how Helicoprion's jaw mechanics worked, shedding light on one of nature's most outrageous designs. Helicoprion was truly a monster out of time. Number 16. The terrifying cockroaches. Back in the 1950s, miners in Glamorgan, United Kingdom, uncovered a bizarre new cockroach in a coal mine, and this was no ordinary bug. At first, it looked like your regular American cockroach, but biologists soon noticed it had some serious differences. This mutant roach had spooky white eyes and unusually thick, long antennae. The scientists initially thought it might be blind, but turns out it wasn't just seeing fine, it had a unique personality too. Unlike typical roaches that don't mind sharing space, this one was super aggressive, pushing others away and acting like it owned the place. For a while, scientists figured it was just a random mutation, but as more of these white-eyed roaches started popping up, it became clear they were dealing with a brand new species. Flash forward to 2019, and pest expert Arnold Siberus stumbled upon more of these roaches with creepy white eyes, this time at Malta's Adorata Cemetery. They're totally different, Siberus shared. They've got white eyes, crazy long antennae, shorter bodies, and they move way faster. Unlike your usual roaches, these mutants are aggressive and have a major attitude, marking their own turf and keeping other roaches at arm's length. Siberus collected a few of these speedy white-eyed critters, 6 males and 2 females, to start a breeding colony for research. I'm gathering as much data as I can on these guys to understand what makes them so unique, he said. He's hoping this captive colony of mutant roaches could unlock some scientific secrets about insect evolution and behavior. Who knew a roach with attitude would be the next big thing in bug research? Number 15. The unusual stones. Scientists say these round little stones, found in South Africa, known as the Oosal spheres, are actually just 3 billion-year-old rocks formed naturally. These tiny spheres, which range in size from about half a centimeter to 10 centimeters, came to be when minerals built up between layers of ancient sediment, much like how crystals can take on precise shapes. Over time, erosion shaped these mineral deposits into smooth, almost perfect balls with subtle grooves, giving them their unique, evenly spaced lines. Of course, that explanation has not exactly satisfied everyone. Since miners first stumbled on them, conspiracy theories have exploded, with some claiming the spheres are far too perfect to have formed on their own. There is even an unverified story floating around that a man once took one of these spheres to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, where scientists supposedly told him the object was so perfectly balanced that it must have been made in zero gravity. But there is zero proof the National Aeronautics and Space Administration ever tested these stones, and scientists have confirmed that these spheres are not perfectly balanced or harder than steel like the rumors claim. Even so, the theories keep coming. Some people believe these stones were crafted by an advanced civilization that roamed Earth billions of years ago, using them as ritual items or ancient technology. Others go a step further, claiming aliens dropped these spheres here as some kind of early data storage device, basically ancient hard drives from outer space. But according to scientists, these theories are more science fiction than science. The spheres are just a cool geological wonder that formed naturally over billions of years. So while they might make for a great story, they are not evidence of ancient aliens or lost civilizations. Just Mother Nature doing her thing. No aliens required. Number 14. The frozen forest. Imagine going deep underground into a coal mine, expecting the usual rock and coal, but instead finding the ceiling covered in ancient tree trunks, leaves, and plants. Basically, a prehistoric jungle frozen in time. This is exactly what happened in Illinois, where miners stumbled upon the fossilized remains of a rainforest that has been preserved for around 300 million years. This natural time capsule is giving scientists a rare chance to understand what Earth's first rainforests looked like. Scott Elric from the Illinois State Geological Survey explained that what they found is like a snapshot of a single moment in history. Usually, scientists look at vertical rock layers to get glimpses of different time periods stacked on top of each other, but in this mine, they're seeing a huge area from one specific point in time, roughly 4 square miles, which makes it the largest fossil forest ever found. When the discovery was made, scientists called in paleobotanist Howard Falcon Lang from the University of Bristol and William DiMichele from the Smithsonian to check it out. Falcon Lang said the experience was like entering an ancient cathedral, only instead of religious paintings, the ceiling was covered with fossilized plants from millions of years ago. Inside the mine, the narrow tunnels are held up by thick, 100-foot-wide coal pillars. Elric described it as being like some kind of Roman temple, with massive columns on each side and fossils covering the ceiling. Above them was the preserved forest layer, a gray surface where tree trunks, branches, and leaves had all left their marks. Scientists think this forest dates back to the Upper Carboniferous period, somewhere between 310 million and 290 million years ago. They suspect a huge earthquake caused the whole area to sink below sea level, where mud quickly covered everything and preserved it perfectly. This happened so fast that the entire forest was sealed off, saving it for millions of years. For the miners who found it, this discovery was a major surprise. They're used to spotting the occasional plant fossil, but they were not expecting to find an entire fossilized forest. This ancient rainforest, once full of life, is now etched into the mine's ceiling, a rare look at a long-lost ecosystem. Number 13. Koso artifact. These mysterious finds have an almost sci-fi vibe to them, sparking curiosity and raising more questions than answers. It all kicks off in 1961 when three friends, Mike Mikesell, Wallace Lane, and Virginia Maxey, head out to the Koso Mountains in California. They were on a mission to find rocks and minerals, treasure hunting for stones with semi-precious gems to sell. But what they end up stumbling on is anything but typical. Instead of jade or another sellable gem, they brought home a strange, rock-like object that didn't seem special at first glance. But once they start cutting into it, they realize it's not your average stone. Inside, they find a round, white, almost ceramic-like core with a thin metal rod running through it that reacts to a magnet. There are other bits too, like a nail and a washer, and the rock's outer surface is covered in what looks like pearly shells, all wrapped up in a hexagonal shape. Curious, Virginia took it to a geologist, who looked at the strange find and estimated that the artifact could be a staggering 500,000 years old. A few years later, creationist Ron C.A. checks it out, and X-ray images make their rounds, stirring up all kinds of buzz. People started speculating on what it could be, with the most out-there theory coming from Paul Willis, editor of Infom magazine. He suggests it could be an ancient spark plug, which hints at some kind of advanced civilization existing 500,000 years ago. However, such claims have been debunked. Some theories suggest that the plug only dates back to the 1920s, so it is hardly a relic. As of 2019, the artifact resides at the Pacific Science Center in Seattle, where it is shown in an exhibition called What is Reality? Number 12. Ancient gold chain. Coal is ancient stuff. There is no such thing as fresh coal. It takes thousands of years for trees and plants to compress under tons of earth, slowly turning into those chunks of coal we burn. That is why what happened on a random morning in June of 1891 is such a head-scratcher. In the small town of Morrisonville, Illinois, a woman named Mrs. Culp was breaking apart some coal to fuel her kitchen stove when she noticed something weird. Inside one of the chunks, there was a chain, an actual gold necklace, about 10 inches long. The local newspaper, the Morrisonville Times, reported on the find on June 11th, calling the chain antique and quaint. The details were enough to spark major curiosity. The necklace wasn't just lying in the coal dust. It was completely encased within the coal itself. Pieces of coal were still stuck to the chain links, and the broken coal had an imprint of the necklace right there in it, almost as if the chain had been part of the lump for ages. This little mystery has puzzled people for years. How could an 8-carat gold chain get trapped inside something that is supposed to be thousands of years old? And if it was, that means the necklace wasn't just a recent loss, but a much older story that somehow ended up hidden in a lump of coal. The original necklace has since disappeared, and there is no photograph of it, but people have been scratching their heads ever since. Was it an old trinket that found a bizarre resting place, or something else entirely? Number 11. Salzburg Cube. Here's a real head-scratcher, the Salzburg Cube. It's one of those mysteries that make you wonder, could it be aliens? Back in 1885, miners in Wolfsegg, am Hausruck, Austria, stumbled upon a strange object buried in coal. It was so out of the ordinary that they sent it to the Carolino Augusteum Museum in Salzburg. Mining engineer Adolf Gurt caught wind of it and got intrigued by the deep grooves and its unusual shape. At first, he thought it could be a meteorite, but after a closer look, he ruled that out. It didn't have the typical melted surface of a meteorite, nor did it contain metals like cobalt or nickel, which are usually found in such space rocks. Scientists later figured the object was somewhere between 66 million and 2.5 million years old. But the real question is, where did it come from? No one could figure that out. The idea that it might be from an ancient civilization, or even extraterrestrial in origin, was floated by American writer Charles Fort, and that theory has since gained a bit of a cult following. The cube was displayed at the Oberösterreichisches Landesmuseum in Linz for years, but in 1958 it was moved to the Natural History Museum in Vienna for more serious analysis. Before it left the museum, they made a cast of the mysterious object, but to this day, its origins remain a mystery. Maybe it's a relic from another time, or maybe it's something that's just beyond our understanding. Number 10. Banker makes a shocking discovery. In 2011, Randall Atkins, a former Wall Street banker, made a risky move by purchasing an old coal mine near Sheridan, Wyoming, for about $2 million. At the time, he was hoping for a modest return, but what he ended up discovering was far more valuable. His investment led to the finding of a massive deposit of rare earth elements worth an estimated $37 billion, which could significantly impact the United States' supply of essential minerals for technology and defense. In May 2023, Atkins's company, Ramaco Resources, announced that after 18 months of drilling and analysis, they had uncovered a major deposit of magnetic rare earth elements at the Brook Mine. They worked with the Department of Energy's National Energy Technology Laboratory and Weir International to verify their findings. The discovery revealed a potential new domestic source of these critical materials, which are essential for products like electric vehicles, wind turbines, medical devices, and military technology. The Brook Mine now holds one of the largest unconventional rare earth deposits in the United States, with an estimated value of $37 billion. Some of the key elements found include neodymium, dysprosium, terbium, and praseodymium, all of which are used in modern technologies. Atkins admitted that when he bought the mine, he didn't even know the difference between rare earth elements and rare coins. Now, his company is at the forefront of what could be a major shift in the rare earth mining industry. Ramaco Resources is working to establish the first new rare earth mine in the United States since 1952, a move that could help reduce the country's reliance on foreign sources of these valuable materials. Number 9. Mysterious underground fire. Near Newcastle, Australia, locals began noticing smoke coming up from the ground. Turns out, the source was an underground fire in the old Clara Vale mine, a coal mine that had operated since 1893 and closed in 1966. At its peak, the mine had over 1,200 workers, but it eventually fell into disuse. When firefighters arrived, they found that the underground fire had been smoldering for over a year, likely fueled by mine waste. An interactive map on the Coal Authority website shows the area is full of coal outputs, where coal is near the surface. Firefighters were worried it could cause land to collapse or trees to fall. A spokesperson for Gateshead Council said, "There are still small, smoldering pockets underground, but we've taken steps to stop it from spreading. The area's fenced off, and the path is redirected, so there's no danger to the public. We're keeping an eye on it." Attempts to extinguish it ran into complications, as further efforts risked a ground collapse. So they decided to let it burn itself out, leaving the abandoned mine's ghostly history to linger, smoke and all. Number 8. Skeleton of ray-finned fish. In 1925, workers in a coal mine in England stumbled upon a tiny, fossilized skull. For years, it sat quietly in a museum, with scientists occasionally studying it. But last year, something incredible happened. Thanks to a computed tomography scan, researchers discovered that not only was the skull from an ancient ray-finned fish that lived over 300 million years ago, but it also contained a preserved brain. Yup, a brain inside a fossil. This find is huge because, in paleontology, finding soft tissues like a brain from that long ago is practically unheard of. The fish itself would have been about 15 to 20 centimeters long, with sharp jaws for munching on tiny crustaceans and mollusks. But the real kicker here is how this fish's brain could be preserved after all these millions of years. It turns out this discovery has totally changed how scientists think about fish brains and their evolution. In modern ray-finned fish, their brains grow in a completely different way during development. Unlike other vertebrates, where the brain walls just bulge out, these fish have cells that fold in a unique pattern. While this ancient fish didn't have that trait, it's a clue that this brain development might have started in their ancestors long, long ago. It's yet another mind-blowing example of evolution's mysterious ways. Number 7. Shocking turtle shell. Moving over to Colombia, workers at a coal mine found something out of a prehistoric dream: a turtle shell the size of a smart car. Scientists identified it as economies cafrinii, also known as the coal turtle. This creature roamed the Earth around 60 million years ago, soon after the dinosaurs vanished. While turtle relatives from the dino era were smaller, these giants appeared a few million years after the extinction. At the time, there were other massive animals, like the titanoboa snake, adding to the prehistoric megalife scene. Experts think these creatures grew huge because of changes in their environment. Fewer predators, plenty of food, and little competition. These coal turtles, unlike today's turtles, had massive jaws that let them chow down on all sorts of plants and animals quickly. The place where they found the shell, the Cerillon Formation, has actually revealed other turtle remains before, but none quite as colossal as this one. Number 6. Jurassic pearls. In a coal mine in Siberia, workers recently stumbled upon 10 huge, perfectly round stone spheres. At first, they looked like they could be anything from fossilized dinosaur eggs to ancient alien artifacts. But after some serious digging, experts think they might just be something much more natural, what they are calling Jurassic pearls. These stones, which are about the size of a human, around 1 meter in diameter, were found about 100 feet underground in the Cyrilsky coal mine in the Krasnoyarsk region of Siberia. The smooth, spherical rocks had people wondering if they were some kind of ancient mystery. But Dr. Olga Yakunina from the Geology Museum of Central Siberia explained that they were most likely rare concretions. In simpler terms, they formed over millions of years when minerals in water stuck to a small object, like a fossil or shell, and eventually created these smooth balls. It is kind of like how pearls form in oysters. Something small gets trapped inside, and the oyster coats it with layers of minerals. Here, instead of an oyster, it was water and sediment doing the work. The spheres might not be from another world or some ancient civilization, but they are still a pretty wild discovery. Now, you can even see them on display at the mine. Talk about a strange souvenir. Number 5. The mysterious bones. In Serbia, 2012, miners near the village of Kalinik made an exciting find: huge bones buried 20 meters down that belonged to woolly mammoths. Digging deeper, paleontologists uncovered a total of 6 mammoths, which is pretty rare. The bones, around 12,000 years old, show these mammoths stood about 4 meters tall and had tusks reaching up to 3 meters. But why were so many gathered in one place? Scientists think there may have been a watering hole here that attracted them, but how they died remains a mystery. This structure took some serious effort to build, so it clearly mattered to the people who put it together, says Alexander Pryor, an archaeologist from the University of Exeter in the United Kingdom. The ancient builders left a few clues behind. Inside the structure, there's evidence of past fires and even food remnants, like vegetables. Just outside the bone circle, several pits filled with mammoth bones were found, which could mean they were using it for food storage. You get a ton of meat from a mammoth, Pryor explained, so we're really interested in exploring the idea that they were processing and storing food at this site. Although mammoth bones are not uncommon, it's rare to find a cemetery with so many in one spot, making this a valuable discovery for understanding mammoth life and death. Number 4. Ancient tools. Fast forward to 2023 in Greece, where an archaeological dig turned up an astonishing find. In an old coal mine in the Megalopolis Plain, researchers discovered tools dating back about 700,000 years. This place is already linked to Greek myths about an ancient race of giants battling the gods, but this was something different. The tools likely belonged to hominids and were used for hunting, processing animal hides, and working with wood. Fossil remains of extinct animals were also found nearby, and this discovery has now set the record as Greece's oldest known hominid settlement. Number 3. New species of dinosaur. Think we've found every dinosaur by now? Guess again. In 2013, researchers exploring an abandoned coal mine in Arenio, Spain, came across remains of a dinosaur species they hadn't seen before. Named Uropelta carbonensis, this creature turned out to be different from the ankylosaur group they initially thought it belonged to. Unlike other ankylosaurs with triangular skulls, Uropelta had a round head and an oddly curved pelvis. These fossils, dating back about 113 million years, are actually the oldest nodosaur remains ever found in Europe, giving scientists a fascinating look at ancient dino diversity. Not to mention, Spain has been a hotspot lately, with several new dinosaur species identified in the past 20 years. Number 2. Game-changing discovery. In the world of chemistry, metal organic frameworks have seriously shaken things up. These superporous materials are made by linking metal ions with organic molecules, creating a structure that's great for holding things like hydrogen or even medical compounds. So far, chemists have come up with over 27,000 of these frameworks, and they were pretty sure only humans could make them, until now. Recently, scientists in Siberia made a jaw-dropping discovery about 40 meters underground, a naturally occurring structure that looks just like a metal organic framework. This find is huge, hinting that nature might have cracked this code long before we did. Number 1. New species of spiders. Spiders and millipedes may give you the creeps, and if you're not a fan, brace yourself for this one. In 2017, British biologists stumbled on a new millipede species in an old coal mine in Wales, which they've dubbed the Maiardi monster. This was a big deal because no new millipede species had been found in the United Kingdom since 1993. Scientists were puzzled about how it ended up here, considering its closest relatives live on the Pyrenean Islands. They think it may have hitched a ride with imported goods. The Maiardi monster isn't dangerous to humans, but its appearance might make your skin crawl. Its body is covered in a shiny brown shell with almost see-through legs and two long antennae like an ant's. At first, scientists thought they'd seen this species before, but further research confirmed it was something completely new. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.